All right, we are back. It is time for release notes. Yet again, Jake and Forrest, and I hear you have great things for us this week. What is up?
We do finally have some great things after a couple of CVE and maintenance type releases. A project that Jake has been working on and driving for so long is finally released to both SaaS and our on-prem products that went out on Monday. Today is Thursday for those watching on YouTube later on. But I'm going to let Jake talk about it. He did all the hard work on this, great work on this. It's really cool. And yeah, Jake, just take it away. I can bring up the release notes if that's helpful for you.
Yeah, why don't you can start by bringing up the release notes. Start there, and then I'll navigate over to the specific docs. Or actually, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So this is our 5.16 release, and this wasn't all on me. This was a culmination of a number of releases, but also a team effort. Forrest heavily involved, designers heavily involved, engineering heavily involved. But the reason I say this is a culmination of releases is that this kind of buttons up what we've set out as our vision for distributed automation for a long time, which is that our runners can be used as a means for not just the distributing automation to various environments, but giving teams their own automation autonomy within a single platform. And so I'll talk about what that means in a bit. But at a high level, we release with runner replicas is the ability to deploy multiple instantiations of our enterprise runner software onto multiple hosts, whether that's VMs or containers. And what this means is that you have a highly available and horizontally scalable runner service. Whereas before, you would install a runner and declare that runner to be used for a certain purpose, like for your US West region, and that would be the only runner that was therefore responsible for the nodes within your US West region, or for, say, your QA environment nodes, or for a particular team's subset of inventory. Of course, when we're talking about the type of automation that Runbook Automation is responsible for, you want that like the entire platform itself, including this runner component, to be always available and performant. And so our customers, for a long time, have been asking how can we do that in a native and elegant way. And so months ago, we came up with design for what we have been calling runner replicas, but we went through multiple iterations of runner groups and runner load balancer and like all of these different permutations, and we landed on runner replicas. But we wanted to get a few pieces in place first, which is what you saw with prior releases in terms of the runner to node association and the runner as a node, and then our improved runner install experience. So that's all been leading up towards now what you see with runner replicas. So from here, let's actually navigate over to we have a couple of diagrams in our runner documentation. So yeah, Forrest, you want to go to the enterprise runner there, and then just scroll down to the graphics here. So this is what the enterprise runner used to look like when you have a single runner dedicated to a particular environment. For example, this runner in the lower left is in network 1, DC1. And it can talk to your nodes, maybe execute Ansible plugins, and feed the log data back to Runbook Automation, which in this graphic we call PagerDuty automation. But now in this second graphic down below, if you'll scroll down here, what you'll see now is the runner replicas, right? And so what we have is the notion of a runner effectively being like a service, but it is comprised of these replicas. So it follows the same pattern that you see with replicas within Kubernetes. The difference here being is that you're not restricted to Kubernetes. You can install these replicas on different VMs or Docker containers, etc. So what this means, in this example here, is that you might target some nodes in US West, and the system, the application, determines that the US West runner is needed. That's how the product operates today. But now, in addition to that, the application now also knows which replica to use based off of the least amount of load. And so you have is this load balanced collection of these instantiations of the runner software, such that you, again, have high availability and horizontal scalability.
So a little bit of a leading question here, since I know the answer, but I'm sure people are curious. For all those customers that have existing runners, what does it look like when they upgrade? Like what changes, and are there existing runners, like, do they need to make changes? Kind of talk through some of the dynamics of the migration or the upgrade process.
Certainly. And when we dig into the product, I'll be able to show what that looks like as well. But at a high level, your existing runners, when you upgrade to 5.16, will still be, you will still have those runners. The difference will be that you will see that each of your existing runners has a single replica. That single replica is that first installation that you made of that runner. Of that particular runner's artifact. So let's say I had a US West runner on version 5.10, and I installed that runner on a VM in US West. Now I upgraded to 5.16. I'm still going to have that US West runner, but now you're going to see this additional tab for replicas, and you're going to see one row of one replica in that table, in that tab, that is your existing jar file runner artifact that you installed back in 5.10. And what it means is that you can have a seamless upgrade, and then you can add more replicas to that existing runner, and then you can also upgrade that existing replica, that existing runner artifact that you had installed back in that, whatever that prior version was.
Great. Well, before we get to the demo, we'll back up a little bit and just check on our other release notes here. We did do a couple of the CV fixes that we've been seeing in the past releases. Scanning some of the other fixes, but it really, everything was kind of focused, looks like, on the run, getting the runner replicas out here. Thank you to Takafumi and JP for some pull requests. I think these primarily were doc submissions and improvements that they provided to us. And yeah, I think we'll just kind of jump in and let Jake show off the runner replicas.
Awesome.
Yeah, and just as you're mentioning, like the folks who are involved in the release, I'll reiterate that there are multiple people on the PagerDuty side involved in getting us to this state with runners, from product design, engineering.
Yeah, all of the people in the room. If you haven't watched the 5.15 release notes, we were in Santiago for that release and got to awkwardly spin around and show everyone in the tiny room we were meeting in. But you can go put faces to names in that video over there.
Yeah, it's been group product area to focus on for sure. So we're in our runner management product area now within a particular project, adequately named DevOps. And you can see I have a few runners here, and they, again, serve different purposes for different environments. And you can see I have my node filter that kind of helps inform what that subset of the inventory is. I haven't been all that descriptive with my runner descriptions, but you can kind of infer, okay, this runner is responsible for nodes in US West 2. This delegator runner here is responsible for all nodes where the node name starts with employees or Terraform. So let's take a look at that runner now. So this is an existing runner. So at a high level, you see the same runner overview page that we've had in the past, the platform type and the replica type, which we'll talk about in a second. Node dispatch is exactly the same, where you declare if you want this runner to be represented as a node, and more importantly, which nodes you want this runner to be responsible for. dispatching automation too. But now we have this new tab. This is what I was referencing earlier, called replicas. And this is where you see those individual replicas that have been installed, what version they have, what's the host name, and replica ID. And there isn't a whole lot that you need to care about with regards to replica ID. What's more important is what we were just talking about, is the version that your replica is running. And so you can see here that I had a replica that was on version 5.13. That's when I had first created this runner. And when I upgraded to 5.16, this existing runner became, it just transitioned to being a runner with a first replica. And so you can see I have a little warning sign that this replica is running an older software version than other replicas. And so we recommend you upgrade, but it'll still work. The reason that we show this warning is that we want to provide guardrails for consistency in terms of product behavior, right? And so this is actually one of the main benefits of replicas, is we want to ensure that customers, when they execute a job and it uses a runner, they're going to have the consistency of how that job performs. So what we don't want is for a runner to be comprised of replicas of multiple operating systems, for example. We don't want there to be a mix of Linux and Windows replicas for a given runner, because then there just might be ways in which that certain command steps or script steps behave differently, depending on the particular replica that gets chosen. So similarly, we want to keep these versions aligned, and ultimately want to get to a path where it's the experience is pretty on rails, and you don't have to think much about how you're keeping the behavior of the product predictable and consistent. What you can also see here is this operations column, so you can see how many current job steps are being executed by a given replica, and so you have some visibility into what that load is. But like I said, the product itself is choosing a replica based off of the least amount of load for you, so there isn't a whole lot to worry about there. But you can see I have a new replica that I've created, and I just haven't installed it yet. And when I add a replica, you'll see that the same sort of install screen that you would see if you were to create a new runner prior to 5.16. So we give you the ability to install a new replica using the shell command, or you can actually download that jar artifact and then copy it over to wherever you want to install it, and then the startup command for the replica. So when I close this now, you do see that I have two replicas that have been defined. They just haven't been installed yet. What this means is that, again, when a job now executes and targets one of these nodes that matches this node filter, this runner will get selected, and then the application will also choose which replica to use. So if we go to a recent job that has been executed, I believe this one qualifies for this, we can see that I targeted these nodes, and we can see that for these particular node steps, that runner, the delegator runner, was chosen. And when I click on this, you can actually see the particular replica ID that was used. Now, again, the replica itself doesn't really matter so much to the end user here, but it's just if you did want to know which replica was chosen for a particular job execution, and then you can backtrack to the page that we were just on to see the particular host name of that replica, so you can know, okay, which host was used to execute that particular job step. I'll pause there if Mandy or Forrest wanted to chime in with anything or questions on all these new concepts.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I have lots of questions. Some of them I think are probably answered in the blog. Like, I'm scanning through the docs and some other things too about, like, what are your recommendations for, like, the initial scaling of these? How many replicas do you think folks need based on how many hosts they have deployed, or do you have some other volumetric that you're working on for recommendations there?
Yeah, so what we've said on how we've recommended sizing the Runbook Automation cluster if you're running self-hosted, as well as just runners in the past, is that we have kind of a recommended baseline for like a minimum sizing of a single instance or multiple instances if you're running a cluster. But ultimately, there's a lot of variables that go into how many resources you're going to need. And those variables are things such as the frequency of job executions, the number of nodes that those jobs are executing against, the level of concurrency that you want to embed in those job definitions. So for example, if you want to target 1,000 nodes and you want to be able to, execute, against 100 nodes at a time, so that job isn't just going one by one across all of those nodes. So there's a lot of these variables that go into like how much load is being asked of the execution engine, and so it's hard for us to say like what is that one variable. Again, we ask our customers to think about is execution frequency, complexity of the jobs, and then like the concurrency level of the jobs themselves. And ultimately this does then lead to like the benefit of replicas, which is that you get to offload that resource consumption to your runners and not put it all on the cluster or all on the SaaS, right? Because those are somewhat resource constrained if we're talking about the SaaS, but like with the cluster, you're having to put everything on the cluster. That means that a lot of our customers will eventually scale that out to multiple hosts, but a lot of them have to scale vertically. What this allows our customers to do is say, okay, well, this project, like our DevOps project has a lot of load. We can size our runners and our runner replicas appropriately for that project, for those jobs. But then we can be more slim on resources for these other projects. And then along the same lines, and this has been the kind of the value proposition of runners for a while now, which is you can say these runners and these runner replicas will have these binaries installed because this project has automation workflows in it that require certain Python libraries and certain tools. And again, if you're targeting Windows hosts, it's usually easier to target Windows hosts from a Windows runner. So rather than trying to make your cluster this super machine with all of the things, all the dependencies, you get to distribute that to your runners and now through the replicas.
Awesome. No, it sounds like it adds so much more flexibility and capability there. So it's awesome.
Yeah. For our customers that are using container orchestration like Kubernetes or I think Docker Swarm is still around, as well as even VM orchestration. One of the natural questions that we got asked by customers when trying to think through how to create replicas was, well, what if like I am dynamically creating like new replicas and replica hosts through, say, Kubernetes or an auto-scaling group, a VM auto-scaling group? Can you accommodate that such that like I don't have to like go into the product and say like, hey, I've added new pods of runners in Kubernetes or new VMs of runners in auto-scaling groups? So that's where we came up with this notion of being able to treat replicas as ephemeral and let our customers tell us if that is going to be the case for a given runner. So now when our customers create a runner, they will choose a platform as before, so like Linux. But if I click Kubernetes, you'll see this treat replicas as ephemeral toggle switches to on. And what this effectively means is that now Runbook Automation is listening for new replicas that are dynamically created in your environments, again, through container orchestration or VM auto-scaling groups, and will automatically recognize that new replicas have been spun up and will show them and will make them usable by the platform for dispatching automation. And similarly, if those if those replicas disappear, we will dynamically remove them from the platform. And so our users don't have to, by their own means via API or in the GUI, tell Runbook Automation that these new replicas are available. That is handled when you use this feature of treating the replicas as ephemeral. So earlier when we were looking at our existing runners here, we can see that our delegator runner, replica type is manual. But if we look at, say, our Kubernetes right here, you can see the replica type is ephemeral. So we really tried to do is accommodate these two modes of operation where customers want to declare that they are creating new replicas and declare that those are long-lived replicas, so to speak, as well as this other mode of operation where replicas are coming online and offline dynamically orchestrated outside of the platform.
Now, does that require that all those runners be up to date to the latest version, or does that also apply to existing runners?
That will also apply to existing runners. So yeah, if you have a runner today and you scale it up, that we should automatically recognize those as well.
Very cool.
Yeah. So again, a lot of new concepts. We posted a link of the blog post as well as the documentation. But like I said, this is a culmination of a lot of people. I know I've been the one primarily talking, but a lot of people involved in getting us to this end state of well-rounded distributed orchestration. So I want to say thank you to a few designers that we worked with and user research folks, and then engineers on the team, and Forrest obviously partnering closely. So it's been group effort.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of complexity that goes into this kind of stuff, like just hooking things together and the authentication or authorization that happens between the components and all of that kind of stuff. People think, oh, can't we just hook it together and blah, blah, blah. Like there's a whole lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes. So yeah, this is excellent. So very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, there's a few folks out there. I don't see any questions from the audience today, but thanks everybody for joining us. Is there anything else that we have to shout out to people this week, or is there anything teasing for upcoming or anything else?
I mean, I think in the upcoming realm, the team right now is diving pretty deep into some performance areas.
Oh, okay.
Where as we see customers scaling up on our SaaS platform and really pushing the limits of that, we're also identifying areas where we can say, hey, this isn't probably the most efficient way to do this or that. And the good news is we're running that same code base, right? The SaaS platform and the on-prem platform are the same code base. So any improvements that we make there in the code translate and trickle down to those self-hosted instances, and we'll be capturing those as they make some of those enhancements. But that I think that also in kind of in the performance, kind of in the modernization area, we're still progressing forward with our conversion of some of our UI code all to Vue 3, and as we make that happen, we also see significant improvements to just interacting with the product, and then a little bit farther out we still have some authoring ideas going out there. I can't remember if we've talked about them fully publicly on this yet, so I'll leave that a little vague, but definitely some customers, have heard about it. Existing customers, if you're curious for a roadmap session, which is one-on-one with either Jake or myself, whoever's available at the time, we're happy to jump on a call and talk to you more in depth about what's coming up, how you're using it today, what any suggestions we might have. We have those calls pretty regularly.
Awesome. Yeah, so folks can reach out to their account team if they're interested in that, for sure. Love to hear that stuff. So.
Yep, and if you aren't sure, who to reach out to, you can also kind of make contact initially through support. and they'll connect you with the right people for those types of chats as well.
Awesome. All righty. So we'll be looking forward to the next ones when the next release is ready. And if folks have feedback, anything, and if you have a success story about working with these runners and how you enjoy those, you can share that on the community forums. We love to hear about that stuff. We're always looking for folks who want to share what they're doing with PagerDuty products, and we'd love to hear what you're up to with these as well. So yeah, love to hear from you.
Great.
All right. All right, guys. I think that's it for today. This has been great. I hope folks have a lot of success with the new runners and replica capabilities. And in the meantime, we'll wish everybody an uneventful day, and we'll be back here for the next release.
Thanks, Mandy. See you later.
Thanks,
Take care.
Bye, everyone.